양지 진보도도 유미종 용문은 진보가 되다 다그러 다른 건 전도 실문 또만 제자라기 숑잘.
To liberate sentient beings, please generate the supreme bodhicitta before we start today's teaching.
Next, we will talk about the Lotus Sutra. Now, let's begin. Where did we leave off from last lesson? Right, we were just talking about the wise sage who possesses the 5 extraordinary supernatural powers. Because earlier we have already thoroughly discussed the profound concept of a heavenly blind person. This heavenly blind person is actually a powerful and insightful metaphor for the Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas. They believe they have already realized the truth of no self. Thinking this way, if there is a little bit of arrogance, then indeed, compared to the state of the sage with 5 supernatural powers, of course, someone with sight, their state is not considered very high. In the very same way, the sage with 5 profound supernatural powers here is a metaphor for the enlightened Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The wisdom of the 2 vehicles is actually not very high at all. We also discussed this important part earlier today already. Here it also says clearly now, that wise sage with 5 supernatural powers has pure, clear eyes. He has attained pure divine vision and possesses 5 distinct kinds of supernatural spiritual powers. Likewise, here the phrase jishi might be a translation issue. What it truly means is thus or in this particular way. So, for a bodhisattva, it is precisely the same. He also gives rise to bodhicitta. After giving rise to bodhicitta, he attains the forbearance of the non-arising of phenomena. Then he perfectly realizes unsurpassed complete enlightenment, anuttara samyak sambodhi, or perfect and complete awakening. For a bodhisattva, he first gives rise to bodhicitta, then gradually attains the profound forbearance of the non-arising of all phenomena, and subsequently achieves the ultimate fruit of complete Buddhahood. Such a revered Tathagata is indeed recognized as the great king of physicians, signifying that the Tathagata himself embodies this supreme healing wisdom and compassionate guidance. So, one should see it in this way. Actually, there are some issues with the translation above. It should be understood like this. Sentient beings' myriad afflictions and profound sufferings have been burning fiercely and relentlessly since beginningless time, an unending cycle of distress and pain. Therefore, the Tathagata, who is the great and compassionate king of physicians, wisely and skillfully prescribes the most appropriate and effective medicine, perfectly tailored to each specific illness and condition. In Lady Maya's Mahayana Sutra, it is also mentioned that when we sentient beings are afflicted by the very serious illness of defilements, it is actually very, very serious and grave as well too. At this time, the Tathagata is the great king of physicians. He can prescribe the right medicine for sentient beings according to their ailments. This is also clearly mentioned in the Nirvana Sutra text. He constantly gives medicine for the suffering and illnesses of all sentient beings. Therefore, he is called the great king of physicians in the entire world. He has long been giving medicine to sentient beings to cure their illnesses and pains completely. Therefore, he is truly called the great king of physicians in the world forever. So people throughout the world often call him the great king of physicians. There is also such a well-known saying. So as we have just mentioned, there are indeed many such statements that confirm the Tathagata is truly the great king of physicians. Just like those blind people, sentient beings who are ignorant and afflicted by delusions and foolishness are truly lost, and are exactly the same as the blind people truly are today. We should view and understand it in this particular way very clearly and deeply now. These many poor patients actually suffer from various serious illnesses such as wind, bile, strangry, and wind-gall phlegm disorders too in life, as well as greed, anger, ignorance, desire, anger, and delusion. There are also 62 various kinds of wrong views, such as the view of self and other similar perspectives. In other words, the view of individuality, also known as satkaya drishti. These sentient beings are mainly dominated by greed, anger, and ignorance. Divided by the distinct views of eternalism and nihilism, there are indeed 62 such views. These spiritual illnesses are effectively treated with 4 essential kinds of medicine, that is to say, emptiness, signlessness, wishlessness, and ultimately nirvana. The first 3 are the 3 gates of liberation. Then on top of these add the gate of nirvana. Treatment is carefully carried out using these 4 specific medicines. It should be clearly understood and viewed in this particular way. Here should be viewed in this way. When I translated in the early days, I often encountered this phrase as well. In fact, it corresponds to the previous meaning and does not have a separate meaning on its own. After sentient beings take different medicines according to their own illnesses, their illnesses, depending on the treatment, can ultimately all be eradicated completely. That is, the entire process of eradication is actually the gates of liberation, emptiness, signlessness, and wishlessness. Previously, it was about attaining the result. After taking the 4 kinds of medicine, how is the result ultimately achieved? It is attained through the 4 kinds of medicine. And in the very end, it is precisely the same. In actual fact, through diligent practice, one first completely extinguishes ignorance. After ignorance is extinguished, among the 12 links of dependent origination, the rest that are dominated by karma are all eradicated all the way up to old age and death. In the end, the entire heap of great suffering is also completely eliminated. When we contemplate in this way, the ultimate state, a truly profound and enlightened condition, is abiding in neither good nor evil. It is a transcendent state that neither falls into nor departs from the 2 opposing extremes. This profound realization is just like a blind person finally gaining the precious gift of sight. Śrāvaka and Pratyekabuddha. We should truly understand that. It is important. It is actually the Śrāvaka and Pratyekabuddha. So the Śrāvaka and Pratyekabuddha, these 2 paths cut off and completely sever the binding bondage of all afflictions within the continuous cycle of samsara. After attaining complete liberation from all afflictions, they are completely liberated from all of the entire 6 realms or the entire 3 worlds. Because of this reason, the Śrāvaka practitioners themselves often think this way. They truly think there is no further dharma that needs to be realized, that is, I have now attained nirvana. They believe they have attained the highest state of spiritual realization possible. For example, just as a deeply drunken person eventually sobers up and then fully awakens completely, so too is the Śrāvaka. After their own profound awakening, they will ultimately become a Buddha indeed. The Śrāvakas are precisely the same way. After entering a state of deep meditative absorption, they later come to a crucial realization that they still need to attain the ultimate state of Buddhahood in time. So in a certain sense, it seems that the Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas first temporarily, some people get drunk after drinking alcohol, becoming intoxicated, they sober up. In fact, their meditative absorption is only temporary, an impermanent state of cessation. There is also such a view. Therefore, they believe there is no other realization to be attained. That is, they think they have already attained nirvana now. Previously, Venerable Kashyapa often thought this way as well. At this point, the Tathagata would tell him, if all phenomena have not reached the ultimate state, then where could you possibly have attained true and ultimate nirvana? It's impossible. In the end, when the Śrāvakas enter the Mahayana path, as we discussed, when studying the lamp for the path of definitive understanding, it's said to happen at either the lesser or greater accumulation path stage. There are also different opinions on this. At this time, the Buddha teaches them through true Bodhi, enlightenment, guiding them to give rise to bodhicitta. In the very end, they neither remain in the cycle of samsara, nor do they enter nirvana. They dwell in neither extreme. With compassion, they are not on the side of stillness, cessation. With wisdom, they do not remain on the side of samsara. In other words, this is truly the very nature of so-called wisdom and deep compassion. Therefore, after we thoroughly study Mahayana Buddhism, the ultimate spiritual attainment is not just nirvana for us dedicated practitioners. It is also necessary to temporarily gain some realizations in our own continuum. For example, entering meditative concentration, practicing meditation, going on retreat, or engaging in solitary practice. All of these are necessary. However, if one goes into retreat and practices solely for one's own comfort, happiness, pleasure, and leisure, then such retreat and practice is merely a state of quiescence. From the perspective of Buddhism, indeed, this particular stance is actually also a profoundly irresponsible attitude to adopt. For this very significant reason, the Venerable Mahaprajnaparamita Shastra, a most important and revered scripture, also explicitly states, all devoted disciples of the Buddha, if you truly and deeply think of the Buddha, you should diligently and wholeheartedly endeavor to repay the Buddha's immense kindness, and therefore not enter nirvana prematurely. In this profound Mahaprajnaparamita Shastra, it is clearly and unequivocally stated, if you are a disciple disciple of the Buddha. If you truly think of the Buddha, if you wish to repay the Buddha's kindness, then do not enter nirvana like the Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas. To stay in stillness like them is not ideal. And in our worldly life, if we never come out for our entire lives and are unwilling to interact with anyone else at all, then what? It may sound to us like a good thing, like being in retreat, but if it is always out of selfishness or simply an unwillingness to be with other sentient beings, in reality, this is not very good either. Of course, for beginners like us, to first go to some quiet places, to cut off coarse negative thoughts and discursive thoughts, and then practice, this is all necessary. But ultimately speaking, the ultimate profound thought in Mahayana Buddhism is actually indeed this: repay the Buddha's kindness, do not enter nirvana. If you truly wish to repay the Buddha's kindness, then do not enter nirvana. Do not always think only of yourself. As I just said, if the Amitabha Dharma Assembly is not held and everyone can go into retreat, some people think it's a good chance to take a well-deserved month off and rest well. Going into retreat is indeed great. Everyone starts clapping, and then, but is your true mindset really truly to practice diligently in your heart? Or is it just to take a little break? Some so-called retreats are entirely just not really genuine or truly authentic. If you ask yourself honestly and critically whether all of your valuable time is actually being genuinely and fully spent on dedicated Dharma practice, it is often quite hard to definitively say. For some people who go into retreat, for those with right understanding and right mindfulness, of course, they use this time to diligently engage in practice. But for some people, it doesn't necessarily lead to success. There should be a distinction between these two aspects. Now, let's take a moment to really talk about this kind of person. That is to say, whether it's benefiting sentient beings, as mentioned earlier, or in the very end, coming to the profound realization that all phenomena in the 3 realms and 10 directions are empty and quiescent by nature, in the ultimate sense. All phenomena in the worlds of the 10 directions are completely empty and quiescent. In the conventional world, everything is truly like an illusion, like a fleeting dream, like a shimmering mirage, like an echoing sound in a vast valley, and so on. None of these things truly exist either. At the same time, one also sees that all phenomena in their true nature are neither truly arising nor truly ceasing, neither truly bound nor truly liberated, neither truly dark nor truly bright. Such profound truths are thoroughly realized one by one. At the same time, he also perceives that he constantly perceives everything in a way that is beyond perception. This statement should be explained as follows. Otherwise, some of you might not fully understand. In other words, such a person has already realized that all phenomena are neither truly bound nor liberated, neither inherently dark nor bright. What exactly does such a person perceive? He constantly perceives in a way that is beyond ordinary perception. What does he constantly perceive? He perceives all the different sentient beings throughout the 3 realms, and that their minds, inclinations, and understandings are all different. That is to say, in the way just described, in fact, it is to constantly perceive in a way that is beyond perception. So what is constantly perceived? As mentioned earlier, the sentient beings of the 3 realms. Each being has a different character and different inclinations, and their capacities and understandings also differ, and so on. All of these are, at that time, because when one realizes all phenomena, one perceives and sees them in a way that is beyond perception. This is the state of no state. In the past, Master Hanshan often had pure dreams. Once he experienced a profound and meaningful dream involving the esteemed Master Qing Liang. In this vivid dream, he clearly saw Master Qing Liang himself. Standing respectfully beside him was also the renowned and venerable Master Miao Feng, who was present as well. Then, in front of these 2 great spiritual guides, he received some truly indescribable and deeply impactful blessings and sacred teachings directly. Later, he thoughtfully asked, what exactly is this profound state? He was indeed told, this is the unique state of no state, an ultimate condition. In other words, it is a profound state where there is absolutely no particular state at all. Just as it is also clearly explained in the revered lamp of certainty, the true meaning of not seeing the supreme view is that the view itself does not fall into any one extreme or another. Right now, we might easily fall into one extreme, perhaps without even realizing it. Either it is existence or it is non-existence, or views such as white, red, and so on. But ultimately, one truly realizes through a profound way of seeing where absolutely nothing is seen. What exactly is it that is realized? All sentient beings throughout the entire world, the different capacities of all sentient beings that pervade the whole world, At present, we only see things as they appear. This means that in the ultimate and truest sense, all sentient beings are truly of one essence with the Dharma realm itself. But in the conventional world, the discerning and discriminating thoughts of each individual sentient being are vastly different. Each of these is distinct and does not get mixed up or confused with the others. It is in this particular way exactly that true realization occurs naturally within us all. So this is also an uncommon and rare mindset held by all the great bodhisattvas throughout time. Next, the world-honored one reiterates the meaning previously discussed. He explains it in the form of a detailed and comprehensive verse providing a thorough explanation. Now in the following profound verse, it is beautifully described as being like the radiant sun and the luminous moon, both shining equally and impartially upon the entire vast and immense great trichiliocosm. At this significant point, as has been mentioned earlier, good and evil are not distinguished or differentiated at all, nor does it fall into thinking this is good or this is evil. Whether it is for the virtuous, for animals, or for humans, sunlight shines equally on all things. It neither increases nor decreases. There is no partiality or bias toward any particular or specific one. In the same manner, the profound and boundless light of the Tathagata's wisdom also shines forth equally upon all beings, just like the brilliant and impartial sun and moon mentioned earlier, consistently teaching and transforming all sentient beings without discrimination. From this perspective, there is also no increase or any decrease whatsoever, neither more nor less at all. Mahayana Sutra of Four Dharmas, the well-gone one, teacher of gods and humans, a gathering of immeasurable virtues. The well-gone Tathagata is truly the supreme teacher of both gods and all human beings. He possesses all immeasurable and truly boundless virtues. His noble mind is always perfectly impartial, and he flawlessly practices all virtues. He is completely equal and utterly unbiased. He benefits all sentient beings without any partiality. As stated in the Mahayana Sutra of Four Dharmas, the teacher of gods and humans in this world, the well-gone one, possesses immeasurable and boundless virtues of body, speech, and mind. His mind, in other words, his wisdom, is completely impartial and equal. Moreover, he perfectly practices all virtuous deeds. Unlike us, who sometimes do good and sometimes do evil, in front of all sentient beings, he always and truly practices all virtuous deeds only. Next, let's carefully consider this particular analogy. These important points have already been thoroughly discussed and explained in the preceding prose section. It's very much like a skilled potter meticulously making various vessels. When he works, he consistently uses materials that are completely equal and uniform in their composition. All of these essential materials are carefully made by thoroughly mixing various types of clay together. During the intricate process of making them, a crucial factor arises because the specific contents they are designed to hold are inherently different. Some may contain sugar, some may contain milk. Some may contain butter and ghee, and some may hold clean water within, while others even contain very impure things like excrement, for example here, and others may hold cheese, and so on and forth indeed as well. Although all the pottery on the outside is completely made of pure natural clay material, and all are carefully and skillfully made by the very same skilled and experienced potter with great care, always, because the substances and various things inside them are all different from one another, then the name of each individual jar is also quite different too. The name of the vessel is different. Sometimes we say, for example, this is a butter jar here today. This is a fresh milk jar there now. Or this is a chamber pot now indeed, a trash can too perhaps. This is a milk bucket also for sure, or some other different kind of bucket as well. There are many and varied kinds of buckets, depending on the specific contents that are stored inside. The vessel naturally and appropriately acquires a distinctly different name. In the same way, some people, because they study the Mahayana, so the collective wisdom of all sentient beings like empty vessels is vast and profound. In this respect, there is not much difference. Every sentient being truly possesses Buddha nature and has a particularly wonderful blossoming in the future, a truly beautiful flower that can truly bloom. but due to temporary differences in conditions and causes complete. Some are called Mahayana capacity, some Hinayana capacity, and some perhaps when they study. We talk Tibetan Buddhists and Chinese Buddhists. It's just that the sheer amount of detailed knowledge contained within is significantly different, which ultimately leads to different recognitions of the external outside world. This is certainly also the case here. So in the Lotus Sutra, there are many metaphors which may seem very simple on the surface, but in fact, especially for a beginner, perhaps in the past, regarding Buddhism, the differences between Mahayana and Hinayana, every sentient being has a different capacity and different ability to accept teachings, so there are various perspectives on these matters. But now that everyone fully understands this now, you should have gained new knowledge in many aspects. Sentient beings are the same in this particular regard. In essence, there is truly nothing from an overarching perspective, nothing left. There is no significant fundamental difference between them. The Tathagata, to their capacities and inclinations, taught different vehicles, such as the Śrāvaka vehicle and the Pratyekabuddha vehicle. But ultimately, what is finally and truly established is the one and only, the singular Mahayana. And sentient beings, due to ignorance, continue to wander endlessly in the cycle of samsara. They truly have no idea at all what the profound peace of nirvana is truly like. If some people rely on the teachings of a spiritual teacher, they can fully understand the meaning of emptiness themselves, and at the same time they distance themselves from self-clinging to person and to phenomena. In this way, they come to fully know what the Buddha, the world-honored one, realized. The ultimate and profound meaning of reality. It seems that there is indeed a sacred scripture called the Sutra of the Supreme Meaning spoken by Manjushri. The five aggregates are empty by nature. This profound universal truth is true in all three times, eternally, always. With a single thought of sincere faith and deep understanding, one immediately perceives the Buddha nature clearly within oneself. Therefore, if we truly see that the five aggregates are inherently empty completely today, and that all phenomena in the three times are also exactly like this, if we deeply understand this profound principle fully clearly, then even if it is just for a single thought, a brief instant, or a fleeting moment, if we have such a recollection or realization, in fact, we have realized the true nature of all phenomena. Just as it is stated in the root verses of the Middle Way, the true and inherent nature of all Buddhas has indeed already been fully and clearly seen. Here it refers to those who possess wisdom. Those without wisdom continue to wander in samsara and find it very difficult to know this. Next, it discusses the three vehicles of Buddhism. Those individuals who truly abide in the middle way with profound wisdom are often considered to be these Pratyekabuddhas. Here, abide means to establish or set up. If what is established is a medium level of wisdom, if the designation is that of medium wisdom, because in the entering the middle way, it is also called the middle Buddha, a Pratyekabuddha is referred to as a middle Buddha. Among the Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, it is considered the middle Buddha, and so it is appropriately called medium wisdom. It is a bit higher than the Śrāvaka, but slightly lower than the Bodhisattva. Therefore, those individuals who are firmly established as possessing a medium level of wisdom, practitioners who cultivate the 12 links of dependent origination, we refer to them as Pratyekabuddhas. Those who, through realizing only the wisdom of selflessness of persons, are guided and taught, what are they called? They are known as Śrāvakas. If we truly realize and awaken to the profound emptiness of all phenomena, then this profound realization is called perfect enlightenment or complete omniscience. Next, let us now discuss this analogy. A blind person simply cannot truly see the sun, the moon, or the stars at all. Moreover, he is very firm and resolute in this belief. Not only does he not see them himself, but he also insists on telling others that in this visible material world around us here today, there are neither the physical, tangible forms of the sun, moon, bright stars, and so on at all whatsoever, nor is there any consciousness whatsoever that perceives the sun, moon, or bright shining stars clearly any more at all. He is very firm about this in front of others. It's just like people in our world today who never study these things themselves and say, samsara and rebirth do not exist. There is simply no such thing as past and future lives. As for karma and its effects, they say it's just something a few Buddhists talk about, nothing more. In reality, it doesn't exist at all, especially some people who have never themselves done any extensive research on the profound topic of past and future lives of individual people, and at the very same time have not practiced well themselves. These particular people often say such things as well. But in fact, to those truly wise individuals, those discerning ones who profoundly understand the intricate existence of karma and its far-reaching undeniable effects, such statements are indeed profoundly and truly pitiable. When seeing such spiritually blind people speak in this ignorant and misguided way, as a great and compassionate physician, he sees that this person, blind from birth, is truly indeed very pitiable. He felt great compassion for him. Then he tried every possible way to bring him to the king of the snow mountains. When he went to the king of the snow mountains, sometimes he would go to the top of the mountain, sometimes to the foot of the mountain, and sometimes to the middle of the mountain, constantly and tirelessly searching in this particular way. In the very end, what did he truly obtain? The very best medicine to effectively cure his eye disease. Moreover, this particular medicine came in 4 distinct types. One of the remarkable medicines was specifically called Entering the Realm of Color and Taste, a truly evocative name. Additionally, there was another powerful one known as Liberating from All Illnesses and Destroying All Poisons, offering comprehensive relief. Furthermore, another wonderfully beneficial one consistently brought immense happiness wherever it was thoughtfully used. So there were 4 types of medicine. He obtained each of these medicines one by one. After obtaining them all, he began to mix the medicines together. He started to combine and prepare the medicine. In the end, it could potentially be used for treatment. In order to treat the serious chronic illness properly, carefully, he began to carefully prepare the medicine ingredients thoroughly and diligently, make such a special formula correctly and precisely, with great care. After finishing, how should it be properly used? Some of these items were indeed utilized by himself, or perhaps even by the doctor's young apprentice. They would chew it up with their teeth and then carefully feed it to him. At that particular time, there were no machines, so some things were still indeed possible, because some medicinal formulas still had various requirements. Perhaps it could only ever be chewed with human teeth and not processed in any other conceivable way. There were also some specific medicines that were carefully ground into a fine powder with stones and then given to him. Most of our Tibetan medicines are currently primarily in a very fine powder form, but this one had significantly higher requirements. In the past, our institute invited a very old doctor to give a lecture. I also attended some of his classes. He said that nowadays a great many things are processed and ground by machines at very high temperatures. In this case, it seems that because of the high temperature, a lot of the medicinal potency is actually lost. This is also true for traditional Chinese medicine nowadays. More traditional Chinese medicine practitioners are unwilling to grind herbs in machines, for example, or use some other modern, advanced technological scientific methods available today here. They are generally really not very willing or particularly eager to do so quickly at all whatsoever, unfortunately. There are also some specialized medicines which are carefully administered by expertly inserting very fine needles directly into various specific points on the patient's body. In this particular and rather unique case, that is precisely how they meticulously treated this unfortunate blind individual. Actually, this particular patient is truly and profoundly quite pitiful, experiencing significant hardship and suffering. Today I heard about it again. It was the same some time ago and also last year. Now, in some remote and beautiful areas of Tibetan, echinococcus is quite severe. It seems that only a few places in Tibetan area have this issue. In Han regions, this is not very common now. But in some parts of Tibetan area, especially in certain counties of our Ganzi prefecture, there are a great many cases, and the spread is also very serious. Some various charity groups have recently invited me to join them, to talk to these warm, friendly local Tibetan people. I have done a little bit of research before, including when I went abroad to visit several different countries. They also conduct some valuable and significant research on certain domestic projects and initiatives. Actually, echinococcus is still quite frightening, indeed, a very serious condition. Some cases are distinctly cystic in nature, presenting as fluid-filled sacs or cavities, and others are clearly alveolar, resembling small air sacs or clusters of cells. No matter which type it is, in the very early stages inside the human body, it's basically completely impossible to detect. By the time it's truly discovered later on, it's basically already in the very, very late stage indeed. Now, one possible reason is health education, which is relatively lacking, especially in Tibetan areas. Also, in some remote and isolated places in Tibetan area, people eat some raw, uncooked meat and drink unboiled, untreated water, because the water sources are often contaminated by wild animals such as wild dogs and rabbits, as well as by marmots, cattle and sheep, which can introduce harmful pathogens. It is important to understand that some of these animals can unfortunately become infected, And after the initial infection takes hold, once the pathogen successfully enters our human bodies, it becomes very easy for us to also get infected ourselves. And in the vast and expansive Tibetan areas, specifically on the high-altitude plateau, the pervasive and alarming spread of this issue is still extremely severe. While I personally and immediately might not be able to do much about it, it is important to note that in the past I have indeed done some significant and impactful work related to various initiatives and projects concerning AIDS. In the future, I might continue to work in this area, although there may not be much I can do in other aspects, but I still want to encourage health education for these people. This is something we might be able to do, and also through some other platforms. To be honest with you, these past few days I've been making truly significant aspirations, and perhaps I can't actually do very much, but I still clearly and profoundly see the distressing conditions of many suffering patients, some of whom have already undergone surgery. I saw a video clip where the surgery had already lasted more than 6 hours. I said, having surgery for over 6 hours is really quite pitiful. That day I also had a 6-hour surgery, but I went in at exactly 8 in the morning, and then I eventually came out at precisely 2 in the afternoon. At that time it felt like just a moment, almost as if I had truly arrived in the glorious Tusita heaven. There was really nothing much to it at all. But as a patient, especially as a dedicated doctor, these medical professionals are truly remarkable and inspiring individuals. Because for the entire time, for example, during an open abdominal surgery, the patient remains in a constant state of tension. Actually, truly nowadays in our contemporary world, many people don't truly understand doctors and nurses well enough today, which is also unreasonable and unfair. Their hard work and what they do daily should be greatly respected. Of course, we can't generalize about everyone here. There are some people who may be irresponsible. That does happen. But for the majority of people, especially those who perform surgeries every day, I ask doctors, and for major surgeries, some can last 12 plus hours, and they don't even have time to go to the bathroom in between. It's extremely, extremely stressful for these people. They are always in this kind of heightened, anxious state. I've seen cases of hepatic echinococcosis, because that particular parasite especially likes to reside within the liver. Since the liver is the most incredibly nutrient-rich organ, then it slowly spreads to the brain, into the bloodstream, into the lungs. It can potentially go anywhere within the entire body. It can even reach deep into the bone marrow. When they're performing surgery, for example, when carefully removing a significant part of the liver, because generally up to 1/3 of the liver can be removed, if you still have 1/3 left, its regenerative ability is quite strong, so the rest is still okay. But if they need to cut every single blood vessel, whenever they encounter a blood vessel, there are a lot of things to deal with again. I heard that my kidney that day also had a lot of blood vessels, and there was one blood vessel that was particularly dangerous. If it was even slightly touched, it could cause massive bleeding, and then you could lose your life. The doctor also repeatedly told me, have you truly and carefully thought this entire situation through? So now when I observe surgeries for hepatic echinococcosis, they meticulously remove a significantly large section all at once. And as for all the blood vessels inside, the doctors meticulously handle each individual case. So during the entire treatment process, sometimes we as patients experience various situations. Whether it's traditional Chinese medicine, Western medicine, or Tibetan medicine, treatment is still necessary, especially when it comes to our health. Even as practitioners, when our bodies aren't really well, it's just better to get checked as soon as possible. If you discover it early, you can treat it early. No matter what kind of illness it is, after all, our bodies aren't really that reliable. If it suddenly wants to get sick, it can happen very easily. So at times like this, we should still remain very steadfast, and there's absolutely no need to be excessively sad, profoundly fearful, or terribly afraid. Just consider this remarkable blind person. The compassionate doctor even personally took him high up the mountain to carefully gather medicinal herbs specifically for his treatment and well-being. If you encounter such a compassionate, skilled, caring doctor, that's really wonderful and fortunate indeed, truly. But if you don't, unfortunately, sadly, then as a sick patient, actually patients are very vulnerable, helpless beings in the hands of doctors today, clearly. Many desperate, suffering patients are still full of hope, hoping that they will definitely survive, hoping that they will fully recover as quickly as possible, and so on. But for us practitioners, we just simply go with the flow, indeed. There's nothing to worry about. On this point, I think many of our Dharma friends need to keep their hearts strong. No matter what we are truly facing, as I mentioned the other day, our world is made up of conditioned phenomena. And conditioned phenomena are not very reliable at all, truly. If you carefully look at any part of our physical body today, how long can it actually last realistically? What is its shelf life exactly anyway? We all know that at most it can last 100 years. For some, it's 70 years. For others, it doesn't even last more than 20 years. Some people come into this world already carrying many serious and often quite debilitating illnesses. Just now recently, I saw some people on our steep stairs who were really out of breath, badly struggling. They are actually quite young still today. This too is clearly due to different past karmic forces at work. Every sentient being has different karma, so their illnesses are different, their personalities are different, and their moods are different. This is all quite normal. Therefore, our attitude toward this world should be that as practitioners we should be used to seeing things this way. Anything can truly happen in this world. There's no need at all to blame others or ourselves for this ever. When we see any sentient being, it's natural that they have different mindsets and personalities. They also have different bodies and conditions. This is all to be entirely expected, but for myself, at any given time, everyone should also maintain a particularly clear and discerning mind. It's crucial to always remain vigilant. At the very same time, we should certainly have a much more open and truly tolerant attitude. If we really do this, we should all be quite happy indeed. Especially for us here at the Institute this year, I feel that some people have a pretty good mindset and attitude in various aspects. This afternoon, when I met with some of my Dharma friends, I took the opportunity to get to know them a little bit better. Each of them has a truly very different mindset. For most people, as practitioners, we should be doing really quite very well indeed. A true practitioner should be able to accept anything calmly, gracefully. This kind of positive attitude is also very necessary and important indeed. So here, let me put it simply clearly now. Just now, after this person finally gained sight, he saw the brilliant light of the glorious sun and the serene glow of the magnificent moon. At that very moment, he thoughtfully considered and reflected to himself, "In the past, I was truly so incredibly foolish and utterly lacking in any wisdom or understanding at all. I used to insist that there were no sun, any moon or shining stars, that there was nothing in the world. But now when I see all the various things outside, all the different vibrant colors, white, a brilliant red, a lush green, and a wide array of intricate shapes, I truly and profoundly realize how incredibly ignorant I was before." He stated this very clearly himself, in fact, indeed. In the same exact way, we ordinary sentient beings who are wandering in samsara endlessly today, in fact, we are exactly like blind, helpless people completely lost and confused truly. We lack of great wisdom, and relying on causes and conditions, we continue to wander endlessly in samsara. Just like bees trapped in a sealed bottle, we continue to keep circling around endlessly without any clear direction or end in sight. And because we lack wisdom ourselves, we believe that everything in the world truly exists in its own right. This is truly pitiable. Praise of the Buddha's deeds. Alas, the ocean of birth and death, the endless cycle of samsara. Sentient beings are submerged in the long current, drifting with nowhere to rely. It's truly quite pitiable. Alas, every single sentient being in the vast ocean of birth and death in reality has no freedom. They are endlessly revolving in the cycle of samsara without limit. It is especially pitiful. These beings are always in the river of samsara, constantly and endlessly swallowed by the relentless waves of birth and death. There is not even a single trace of true freedom. If you truly wish to attain genuine freedom, there is simply no conceivable way. In the end, they just drift aimlessly, with absolutely nothing to truly rely on, truly and utterly pitiful. Sometimes when we truly observe, I occasionally feel that in this vast and complex life, how can one genuinely define or even perceive it as true happiness? Yet in reality, there still exists an immense amount of suffering and hardship. That's exactly why so many people like to read tales for transforming adversity deeply today. Whether it's powerful leaders or wealthy rich people, why is that exactly? Because none of them are truly happy inside at all whatsoever. On the surface, it seems like this person couldn't possibly suffer, that he is indeed truly the happiest person in the entire world. But in actual fact, he has already read it quite numerous times over. The other day I saw someone, he looked extremely successful. He was wise and outstanding in every aspect. He said he had read Tales for Transforming Adversity 3 times. I asked him, why? He said, no matter what, life is just extremely bitter. I thought, Amitabha, you really can't tell from the outside. On the outside, he seems like that kind of person. But inside, it's still suffering. It's just packaging. So sometimes maybe this entire cycle of rebirth, you see, drifting through this wide world, can truly be called the vast ocean of birth and death, endless and boundless. At this point, people without experience, or those who are rather naive when they look at it, they might not necessarily understand. They feel that life is full of hope, full of sunshine. They think that everything in this world is especially wonderful. But after you walk just a few more steps, you'll then truly realize this world is just like that. Therefore, as practitioners, if someone is a truly relatively accomplished or very mature practitioner, it's truly like being an elderly person. When he sees those innocent, naive, and playful children playing happily, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, perhaps the elderly person feels completely at ease. Seeing all their childish and playful behavior, he doesn't mind it, nor does he follow along with them. So, as practitioners, it's the same for us. When we have a certain level of confidence ourselves and see the people around us sometimes extremely happy, smiling so brightly, and sometimes crying in deep, profound pain, suffering terribly and intensely, crying in a way that's almost unbearably cruel, a truly agonizing and heart-wrenching display of sorrow, well, all of this is cruel. Can I truly say that? Perhaps it's more accurately described as utterly tragic, a deeply sorrowful and lamentable situation, right? Oh. Maybe I shouldn't say that honestly, right? Or maybe it's fine, actually. The monks aren't speaking up loudly. Is that okay, really? What do you think about this? The old wise monk said calmly, "Why exactly? It's all pretty much the same anyway. Everything is truly empty in nature, more or less, in fact. Anyway, that's just exactly how the world is nowadays. More or less the same, really." In this world of ignorance, there exists such omniscient wisdom. Actually, here it means that in this confused and ignorant world, there exists. Sometimes this translation isn't very easy to understand, but I think it can be interpreted this way. In this world of ignorance and foolishness, there exists the Tathagata, the perfectly enlightened one who possesses all-encompassing wisdom. Truly, just like a very good and effective medicine, and indeed like a highly skilled and experienced doctor, he gives rise to the very essence of compassion, generating a compassionate mind toward all sentient beings. Then, using truly various skillful and very expedient means and all, he profoundly expounds the supreme, nectar-like Dharma, teaching the true and profound Dharma. With great and boundless compassion, he skillfully adapts to the different capacities of all sentient beings. Just like many spiritual teachers in our world, they completely disregard their own personal interests entirely and teach all sentient beings, especially those seeking sublime Dharma methods. I often deeply think about this. For example, in the past, in this world, any teacher who imparted knowledge to us, in fact, we should be extremely grateful to them as well. If it weren't for them, we probably wouldn't be able to grasp much of the knowledge in this world. We are also especially grateful to our parents, who are our very first teachers when we come into this world. Some children often say, "I don't have a good impression of my parents. I don't have a good relationship with my parents. My personal opinion of my parents is just so-so, neither particularly good nor bad. But if it were not for your parents, perhaps you would have already completely decayed and vanished in this vast world long ago. Or maybe you would have already become nothing but an illusion. But your parents wouldn't let you die, wouldn't let you decay. They wouldn't ever let you die, always diligently protecting you. This is also something for which we should be truly grateful. Even more importantly, much of the valuable knowledge we have now, bit by bit, comes from our parents' teaching by example, by words, and by intention. They consistently show us various kinds of genuine care and profound love through their thoughtful actions, their encouraging words, and their sincere intentions. Because of this continuous demonstration, we have truly learned many invaluable principles and fundamental lessons of life. So, when we carefully observe everything from a clear, objective, and logical perspective, we should also be especially grateful to our parents, relatives, and friends in this world. But even more importantly, to the virtuous teachers who guide us beyond the mundane world. This is truly a profoundly rare and exceptionally precious phenomenon. In this vast and intricate world, it is because through their diligent and dedicated personal practice and profound wisdom, they clearly and precisely point out to us the correct path forward, the path that no other teacher in the world can show. In this regard, perhaps in other aspects, for example, if I myself have money, ability, and wisdom, in all the schools around the world, I can seek out all kinds of worldly knowledge and deep understanding. But when it truly and profoundly comes to true wisdom, only the Buddha, the enlightened one, or the virtuous teachers who are followers of the Buddha. In the past, there was a Brahmin mentioned in the Buddhist scriptures who was extremely intelligent when he was young. It seems that by his 20s he had already mastered a great deal of knowledge. He thought that in the whole world he was the only one, the smartest and most remarkable sage. Later he went to another country, and in that particular country there he learned archery well. He completely mastered this skill perfectly then. Then he went to another distant place to learn boat making and floating on water. He quickly mastered that as well. He went to yet another place to learn palace construction, house building and architecture. He also mastered this right away. He thought to himself that he truly was an extraordinary person in the world. At that time he had traveled to 16 countries. Later he saw a Shramana, ascetic monk. At first he had never seen a Shramana before, not even once in the past. He found this kind of bald head quite peculiar and strange. He wondered, what exactly is he? But he seemed to live very happily and joyfully. Then they started to talk. Because this man was very arrogant, he claimed, "I have mastered all the knowledge in the world." Later the Shramana said to him, "Then do you know the method of regulating the mind?" He asked, "How do you regulate the mind?" He replied, "By first regulating the body and then regulating your own mind." As for regulating the mind, there are many ways to do so, even in this very life. When the mind attains freedom, things can be resolved. As for the next life, it also depends on the 10 virtuous deeds, the 6 perfections, and the 4 means of attraction. One can fully practice many virtuous actions and ultimately attain happiness. Later he realized that he only understood worldly skills. He had no knowledge of supramundane matters, especially in terms of psychology and spirituality. He didn't fully understand any of it. I clearly see that many people here today may all be teachers in the worldly sense. If you look around the world now, universities, there are many people, but when it comes to supramundane matters, especially those individuals who truly bring profound happiness to the mind, who bring great strength and spiritual nourishment, who nourish with deep compassion and essential bodhicitta, and more importantly, lay an enduring foundation for our long journey in future lives, a very solid foundation. Such profound and wise spiritual teachers are not at all easy to come by in our daily lives here today. Once you do truly encounter one finally, even if the time you spend relying on such a teacher is not long, you should at the very least receive some essential teachings and clear instructions. After that, you will be able to proceed accordingly, because for each of us, it's truly impossible to rely on a spiritual teacher for a very especially lifelong, indeed inseparable relationship, though we may wish for it. But due to various causes and conditions, many things in this world, all phenomena, are impermanent. Not everyone necessarily has such favorable conditions. But at the very least, whether you receive blessings through mind transmission or body transmission, or receive oral teachings or detailed instructions, I truly think this is very meaningful and profound and significant. I'm not entirely sure what exactly brought this particular topic up just now. It just suddenly and quite unexpectedly popped into my mind, a thought that appeared without any prior warning or conscious effort on my part. Next, it profoundly states that the truly unsurpassed Buddha possesses the profound wisdom of perfect enlightenment, and he meticulously expounds the supreme and ultimate vehicle, while also extensively and comprehensively teaching the deep wisdom of the middle vehicle. That is to say, for the Pratyekabuddhas, the guides of intermediate wisdom, who fear the endless cycle of samsara deeply today. He teaches them and praises Bodhi in another special way, very carefully and gently. Because the hearers, Śrāvakas, also fear being caught in the painful cycle of samsara forever too. But if you talk about Bodhi directly to them now here, they might not be able to accept it so easily. So he praises Bodhi in yet another, even more profound and significant way. After completely leaving the 3 realms, the hearers will feel entirely and utterly satisfied indeed, knowing that they themselves are already abiding in nirvana. At this particular point in time, they think to themselves, "I have already attained a complete nirvana, free from all afflictions and obstacles, a pure and blissful state of being. They have attained the realization of all dharmas. This is nirvana, like the nectar of immortality." They believe that this is it. At this time, just like the Buddha, who was once a sage with 5 supernatural powers, he is also very compassionate toward these hearers and Pratyekabuddhas. He enters into compassion. Then he tells them, your wisdom is actually quite foolish and mistaken. Truly, do not think that this is my own true wisdom here, because in fact, the hearers and Pratyekabuddhas, in the ultimate and highest sense now, still do not understand very much. They should not consider themselves to be truly wise at all now. Why are they not wise enough then? Next, he rebukes them very using the analogy of the 5 supernatural powers clearly here. For example, if you are living in a warehouse or a house, when you are inside, whatever actually happens outside, you have no way of knowing it. So, it can be said that you are quite ignorant and lack great true wisdom and understanding now at present. Or when you are living inside this very house here today, right now, the things that are done or not done outside there in the world, the events that happen or do not happen, you know absolutely nothing about any of these things, let alone anything else really, such as things happening farther away now or in other distant places beyond here. What was mentioned earlier before refers to the divine eye right then. The physical eyes cannot see them clearly. Or perhaps it refers to a very deep knowledge of past lives, right? Indeed. Let's first see if it is the divine eye being discussed. These 2 verses, in essence, should have precisely the same meaning. Then it says below, if it is beyond 5 yojanas, if a sound is produced or generated in a location situated more than 5 yojanas away, you would simply be completely unable to perceive or hear it at all, let alone if it's even farther away. That means you still haven't fully attained what? The profound meaning of the divine ear, which is indeed the second significant attainment. The third important one is this. When others possess certain specific qualities, feelings of intense hatred or strong attachment toward you, for example, you truly have no real idea what they are actually really like. Whether their attitude toward you is love or hate or something else, you do not have the ability to know others' minds. This refers to not having attained the true full ability to know others' minds well today. That should be the third one exactly here. Also, if it's a distance of about 1 krosha or so away there, without touching the ground if you walk, or if you try to fly through the air, you simply can't do it at all. That should be the divine foot power. You have not yet attained the truly divine foot power. All matters concerning your time in the womb, you have also forgotten that time. This includes your time in the womb, and all matters from your previous lives before being in the womb have all been completely forgotten. In this particular case, it clearly shows that you do not possess the knowledge of your past lives. Actually, if you genuinely don't have the knowledge of your past lives, sometimes this also happens in the mundane world, doesn't it? In the past, the Buddhist scriptures clearly mention that Brahma indeed thought that in 72 generations all the previous celestial beings had died. However, he himself had never truly died, so he genuinely believed that he was truly eternal. He always truly thought that all other sentient beings were impermanent, while he, as the Brahma king, truly believed he was eternal. Later, the Buddha wanted to enlighten him. He brought along the prominent Maudgalyayana, the venerable Shariputra, and the elder Kashyapa. All of these venerable arhats swiftly flew high up directly above his head, ascending into the air. They all collectively sat upon his head together now, and with a unified voice they admonished him sternly and firmly. They questioned him directly, asking, "Why do you persistently claim that you are truly eternal here?" Then, however, he gave some reasons, but none of them really held up at all. Later he asked this profound question, "Then why exactly am I so long-lived? What is the reason for this?" Then the Buddha told him at that time, there are 2 main reasons. One reason is that when you were a minister in the past, you saved some people. Originally, all the people in a village were supposed to be killed. At that time, as a minister, you were ordered to sentence them to death, but you secretly created an escape route for them. You managed to save all of them. And also, it seems you became something else at that particular time back then. There was a group of merchants at sea, and when their boat capsized suddenly, you saved them all. Because of these reasons, you have enjoyed a long life in this world here. Later, after 36 kalpas, you too will die eventually. The Buddha told him this. So, if you truly possess the profound knowledge of past lives, then you will truly know which sentient beings indeed have very long lives, and which certainly do not. As for Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, they do have some knowledge of past lives, but not much. They do not know the causes related to time, circumstances, details, or quantity. Didn't we say that Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas have 4 types of ignorance regarding causes? They know not the cause when the time interval is too long. They have no idea about what happened in between. For example, if it concerns several kalpas later or 500 lifetimes ago, Buddha would know, but Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas could not. Then, not knowing the cause due to circumstances, Maudgalyayana's mother was reborn in the Buddha Jyotirasa's Pure Land. His mother reborn there, but because the distance great, he couldn't know. Regarding subtle causes, because some causes and effects are extremely subtle, only the Buddha's all-knowing wisdom can comprehend them, but for ordinary Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, they simply cannot grasp such subtle principles. There is also the aspect of not knowing many causes. For example, the causes of the Buddha's 18 unique qualities and his excellent marks, including the total number of all the leaves in the entire world. There are just far too many of these particular things. The Buddha can know them all clearly, but Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas cannot at all. So here today, Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas still have many things they do not know well. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can fully understand these things completely now. Time is almost up now, so I'll speak a bit faster here. If one attains the 5 kinds of supernatural powers, one can be called all-knowing. If you have not yet attained all-encompassing wisdom and truly know nothing at all, indeed, how can you be called a wise person? You simply cannot truly be called a truly wise person. If you truly wish to become a wise and enlightened person and genuinely attain the extraordinary 5 supernatural powers, you should first proceed to a quiet and deeply secluded place. It is then that these remarkable 5 supernatural powers can gradually arise. During this transformative process, you should contemplate the purity of all phenomena, emptiness, impermanence, and so on. By carefully following this path, you will truly attain remarkable supernatural powers. So, after the Śrāvakas heard this, they also went to secluded places to contemplate and enter meditative absorption. In the end, they attained the 5 supernatural powers. Soon, they possessed all these qualities in full. This is in contrast to the ignorant people mentioned earlier. Those without wisdom are not like this. Earlier he had eyes, but later, without the 5 supernatural powers, this ignorant person, maybe I was unclear when I explained this just now. In the same way, for Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, they have the thought of attaining nirvana. The Buddhas say, you are just taking a short temporary rest now. It is not true, ultimate nirvana. The Buddha skillfully taught them this profound path using various expedient means. If one is separated from omniscience, there is no attainment of nirvana. There is no realization of nirvana, no arising of nirvana. The wisdom of the 3 times is boundless and infinite. Next, let's talk about the methods of practice. The wisdom of the 3 times is boundless and infinite. The 6 perfections can also be practiced in purity. Within our conventional truth, you can profoundly seek the timeless wisdom of the past, present, and future. You can diligently pursue the profound 6 perfections, as well as the serene state of quiescence, the boundless nature of emptiness, and the ultimate truth of non-appearance. If it says aspiration is abandoned, it means there is no aspiration. That's how it's translated. Abandoning means having no aspiration. Aspiration is abandoned. If the aspiration is abandoned, it means there is truly no aspiration, as well as cultivating bodhicitta, and also approaching nirvana through various different methods. If it says approaching nirvana by different methods, it means approaching nirvana through various ways and different practices, as well as practicing the 4 kinds of pure conduct we mentioned earlier. The 4 means of attraction, these are the 4 means of gathering within the Mahayana tradition. In this way, one teaches and transforms sentient beings. This is just as the sage with the 5 supernormal powers said. It is precisely what the world-honored one, the great Mahayana Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, taught as extremely profound and essential instructions. If we truly understand that the fundamental nature of all phenomena is like an illusion, like a fleeting dream, then they do not have any real substance. It's just like a banana tree, which on the surface appears to be solid inside. But in fact, if you peel it layer by layer, in the end you get nothing at all. It's also like the echo in an empty valley, which on the surface truly seems to exist when you hear it, but when you actually try to find it, it is simply not there. At the very same time, we also know the true nature of all phenomena, that within the three realms, apart from this, there is nothing left over. There is nothing else, other than the nature of all things being like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, or a shadow. There is nothing else. So in the ultimate sense, there is no binding, nothing that binds, nor has there ever been any untying or liberation, nor is there any attainment of nirvana. It's not like the Śrāvakas or Pratyekabuddhas, who truly seem to have a substantial and tangible nirvana to attain. In reality, all phenomena are fundamentally equal, inherently empty in their very nature, and utterly without any separate, distinct essence. One should approach all phenomena in a profound way that sees absolutely nothing, observes absolutely nothing, and thus comes to understand all things completely and thoroughly. To truly see this is to be indeed wise. One can also attain the complete and profound Dharmakaya. If you perceive a single phenomenon in a way that sees nothing and observes nothing, in reality you are seeing all phenomena. To see all phenomena, this is the state of the Dharmakaya. In this way there is no one vehicle. Here, it seems that in the Tibetan version text, it refers to the three vehicles clearly. Ultimately, there are no three vehicles at all, but in our conventional terms now, the ultimate one vehicle still exists truly here. You could put it that way. In the ultimate sense, there are no three vehicles, but temporarily, for the sake of guiding all sentient beings, the ultimate and singular one vehicle can also be said to truly exist. All phenomena are entirely equal in the ultimate truth. This equality is always constant, or to put it another way, all phenomena, in the ultimate sense, are equally empty. Conventionally, their appearances are equal. Thus, the unity of appearance and emptiness in ultimate and conventional truths is always equal. We can simply just put it this way. I'll just say it directly like this. As for how it really is, it can also be explained this way. All phenomena are equal, this equality is always constant, and so on. After truly understanding this kind of profound wisdom, in fact, the genuinely true Mahayana, the precious nectar-like nirvana, or you could say ultimate liberation, happiness, and freedom, this kind of nirvana is like nectar. Whoever has already tasted it, all the illnesses of greed, anger, and ignorance can be completely cured, and ultimately attains the profound state of perfect and complete, truly enduring happiness. Therefore, it is absolutely essential that we diligently follow. This section has already been finished, right? On the literal level, it can be explained this way. Basically, the Tibetan and Chinese versions correspond to each other. We'll stop here for today.
Bandharangara Banma Sodargye